Hello, welcome to Pathways to Peace Symposium. We've had 5 or 6 speakers already, and it's gone very well. So we're going to have a number of really good recordings. The next speaker is going to be me. We had a person not show up, and so also from Nigeria, it turned out, but he's having technical difficulties and he's not going to be able to make it. So I'm going to talk to you about a subject. This is a term, I've heard it before, but well, I made it up, but I've heard it since, so I didn't really make it up. So anyway, but I love the term, and it is positive mental health. Positive mental health. So we've had some speakers talk about mental health already this morning, and we have more this afternoon. But what if you think about mental health, if you think about that term, it normally has a kind of negative connotation to it, right? Well, it doesn't need to be. It doesn't need to be negative. It can be positive. We can actually do better. So I'm going to share my screen and I've got too many slides. This was a longer presentation this morning when I did it. So I'm going to try and do it in a half an hour. So I'm going to speak quickly. And hopefully I can make some sense of it, even though it's fast. So Melissa, can you see my screen? Can you shake your head? Yep, good, wonderful. Okay, here we go. So this is Pathways to Peace Symposium. It is my birthday. I'm very excited about being here and having you guys watching this and talking about my favorite subject. We're trying to figure out how to do peace and do it with other people. So we are going to do it through positive mental health. So positive mental health, I'm going to try to introduce you to it and how it relates to emotional intelligence, show you how positive mental health can bring peace into your life, both inside you and around you, right? It's kind of the idea we got here, the whole point of this whole thing, and inspire you, hopefully, to incorporate positive mental health and emotional intelligence into your life and share this with others. So that's kind of a tall order in a half an hour, but we'll give it a shot. So what is it? Positive mental health. So you guys have probably heard of positive psychology. Positive psychology, well, for thousands of years or a bunch of years, the point of therapy, people only went to therapy when they were broken, when you had a problem or issues, and they went to therapy to get back from the problem down here back up to normal. They want to get back to normal. Can I stop having this problem and get normal again? Well, that's how always therapy was the point of therapy. But Dr. Martin Seligman from University of Pennsylvania came up with the term positive psychology because he said, wait a minute, why do we just stop in there? Why don't we talk to people who are doing great and figure out how they're doing that and get people to go from down here back to normal and then up even better than that? And so I'm saying the same thing with mental health. We don't have to stop there on normal, whatever normal means. That's kind of a weird term anyway, but we don't have to stop there. We can do better. We can learn how to deal with our insides, with our thoughts and our feelings and our actions in such a way that it is awesome, that we are awesome, that we have a great life, that we are successful, and we are empathetic, and we have cool connections, and we have satisfying relationships, and we have love, and we have purpose, and all that kind of good stuff. Those are up here, right? Those aren't what mental health problems usually are dealing with, right? They're usually dealing with depression and sadness and that kind of thing to get back up. Anyway, so I think we can do better. We can do better. So that's what this is about, that we're going from below the line up above the line. We don't have to just stop at normal. So with emotional intelligence, if we be smart about our emotions, then we can learn how to deal with our negative emotions, the ones where we're down here, sadness, depression, anger, fear, embarrassment, shame, guilt, all that stuff we can deal. And I'm not saying to avoid it. I'm not saying like, everything's peachy fine. Like Bill said a little while ago, we're not going for the, everything's positive all the time, because it's not. That's not real. I'm big on reality. I'm real big on reality. And it's not happy. It's not yippee skippy, as my wife puts it all the time. It's not. So what are we going to do about that? Let's deal with that. So that, and in a way, and so that we can go better, so that we can do better. So let's talk about that, shall we? here's some minor advantages. Check out these benefits of positive mental health. These are pretty cool. It gives us choices. It gives us freedom. It gives us personal power. We can do some incredible things. We can do love. We can have love in our life. We can have intimacy. We can learn. This is one of my favorite and one of the most powerful emotional intelligence skills there is. And that is our ability and our choice to open our heart or not, or close our heart. That is up to us, not them, not the world, not anybody, nobody. It's up to us. And I can be wide open. I can open my heart and just love the heck out of you. I can take in your love and your acceptance of me, and happy birthday greetings that I've had all day today, which is really cool. And I'm taking them in. They feel fantastic. And I can feel all this stuff. And when stuff is not safe, or people are not cool, or things aren't going well, I can shut down a little bit and I can close that. And so I'm not getting hurt, and I can still be fine. I'm fine. I'm not letting you in, but I'm fine, right? Okay. So I can do that. That's a great skill. I love that skill. Anyway, we can have love and intimacy in our life if we do this right. We can feel alive. We can feel alive if we want to. We can get better results. Some people have talked about that this morning. We can be more successful. We can be a leader. One whole talk was on leadership, just on leadership. Raza talked about internal leadership and external leadership. That was pretty cool. So we can be a leader if we choose to, in our own life and around us, in team, family, group, work, all of that stuff. Leaders got to have good emotional intelligence and positive mental health. We can love ourselves. We can learn to have self-esteem and care about ourselves. Melissa and Divya were talking about this earlier, about how if we can accept ourselves, if we can push ourselves, if we can do things that are sometimes awfully uncomfortable and live through them, we can go, wow, that's pretty cool. Way to go. And that's just me talking to me, right? I'm just building my own self-esteem and my own self-worth for myself, by myself, in the mirror or whatever. It's pretty neat. It gives us purpose. We can get inner peace and social peace and interpersonal peace and all that good stuff. We can build teams. We can do relationships. We can change our culture, and we can heal. We can heal our pain and our garbage that we carry around with us in our past. Divya was talking about that too. It's baggage. She called it baggage, emotional baggage. We all have it. We all have it, and we don't have to carry it. And we don't have to carry it, you guys. And it stays in our body. We like to think that, oh yeah, well, that only happened to that was like 3 years old. That's not that big a deal. It was a long time ago. Guess what? It's still in there, probably still in there, and you're probably still carrying it around, and you don't have to. Pretty cool, huh? So what's emotional intelligence? About being smart with our thoughts and our feelings. Two things. Well, three things. Smart with our thoughts, our feelings, and our actions. Actually, it's the next slide, I think. But it's just, most people, in my opinion, I ask people all the time about this. Have you ever thought about being smart about your emotions, about especially your negative emotions, your fear and your anger and sadness? Have you ever thought about how you can be smart about that? And they're like, I've had some people change their life just from that question. They're like, oh, that's a great idea. And I'm like, yeah, it is. It's a really good idea. Try it. It's a beautiful idea. So that's what this is about. Being smart with our heart is another way to put it. The lack of emotional intelligence has caused some pretty severe problems, really bad problems. Most of our biggest social problems have to do, in my opinion, again, it's hard to prove, but in my opinion, they're due to lack of emotional intelligence, like violence and abuse and addictions. And the worst one that's happening lately, you probably heard about it, is suicide. Suicide worldwide is increasing radically. In the United States, it's awful. In India and in Asia, it's awful. It's so bad. And talk about that is the perfect example of, hey, I don't know how to deal with my feelings. I don't know how to deal with these thoughts. I'm out of here. And granted, that's your choice. I mean, that's the ultimate choice, is whether you want to be here or not. But that's the ultimate to me, to say, hey, we got to teach people how to do this. This is not working. This is not working. And I have had some friends, and I have a good friend of mine, I'm going to cry right now. A good friend of mine committed suicide not too long ago, and it was friggin' awful. It was awful. And a friend of our kids did recently, and it's just awful. That is the worst feeling, and you feel so powerless, and you feel so, it's like, what was going on? We had no idea. We had no idea, right? They seemed one of the happier kids I thought that I knew, and I love this kid. It was great, and boom, he's gone, and he got rejected by his girlfriend, and he decided, that's it, I'm never going to find love again. I don't know what he decided. I don't know, but anyway, he's not here anymore. Divorce, mental health problems. Here's a wild one. There are now numerous research is showing the direct connection between not dealing with our emotions and causing major physical illnesses as an adult. Your body does not like to carry this crap around inside of it. It breaks you down, it tears you up, it tightens us up, it causes commotion inside of our body physically after years and years and years of us doing that. And guess what? It doesn't go well. It doesn't go well at all. Crime, of course, and war, like John mentioned, yikes, right? All about not knowing how to deal with our emotions. So Aristotle said, educating the mind without educating the heart is no education at all. Well, I think that's a little bit severe, but you get the idea. We need to educate our heart as well as our mind. I personally was pretty disappointed with my schooling. I went all the way through high school, all the way through college, and I got out of college and went, that's it? What about me? What about me? I learned all this stuff, all this left brain stuff, till I could get a job. And that, I appreciate that. That's cool. And I'm glad we are good at our left brain. That's a really good thing. But it ain't it. That's not the whole thing. We're missing this huge part. And the cool part is that nowadays, people are starting to realize that. Teachers are realizing it, schools are realizing it, administration's realizing it, parents are realizing it. They're like, wow, this is not working. No, it's not. Based on the last slide on what's happening to people, this is not working. And kids are, suicide became, I believe it's the #2 cause of death in the United States for 10 to 24-year-old kids. Check that out. 10-year-olds feeling that much pressure that they're like, I'm out of here. Can you imagine? Oh my gosh. Anyway, so it's skyrocketing. That's why we're having this. That's why we had no problem. Now, one person that I asked to be in this symposium said no, not one. It was pretty cool. And some people are canceling, but that's okay. I mean, stuff happens, but you get the idea. It's starting in education, which is our nonprofit is based on education and work and home, schoolwork and home, all the big three. But in education, they're just sucking it up. I had a workshop this morning, and I have another one tomorrow morning in India. No, one's in Bangladesh, I believe, and they know they're universities. These are universities. They know that it's missing. They know they need to add this, and they don't know how to do it. So I'm trying to help them, and they're like, wow, wow. And these are PhD, and then me, and then PhD. And I'm Mr. Matt. I've been known as Mr. Matt now because I don't have PhD, but that's okay. But anyway, you get the idea. They're starting to understand, and they are what we call consciously incompetent, which means that when first step is unconsciously incompetent, which means you don't know that you don't know. Consciously incompetent means you find out that you don't know, and you're like, oh my goodness, there's this whole piece of us that's missing. Then you do consciously competent, which means you find out, and then someday maybe you can become unconsciously competent, which means it's a habit and it's now worked into your life, kind of thing. Anyway, emotional education is missing. We don't learn about it in school yet, but it's happening. It's starting. Our parents didn't teach us because they didn't know. I talked to my mom and my dad about this. I'm like, why didn't you teach us this stuff? My dad says, you know me. He goes, you know my dad. He goes, I wouldn't know a feeling if it slapped me upside the head. This was his exact words. With a 2x4, I think he said. Anyway, he's and that's true. I mean, he didn't. Nobody talks about this stuff. He goes, my dad. He was my grandpa was an attorney in Brooklyn, in New York, and tough. He was a boxer, and he was Jewish, first generation Jews, and stuff was hard. His brother, two of his brothers were killed. and they were mafia related and all this stuff. It was tough life. Hey, they don't deal with feelings. They don't deal with feelings. So now we got to do it. So we don't learn them in school. Our parents didn't teach us, not maliciously, but they don't know. And our teachers didn't know. And now, and we better not talk about emotions at work, right? So anyway, so it's missing. Here's a good one. Actually, here's for Melissa, for you. Here's what happened. Our parents brought down this garbage, and they got it from their dad, and who got it from their dad, mom and dad, and got it from them. One of us, some of us need to stop it. We need to stop it. We're this guy here in the middle that's shielding off the negatives, and we have to teach our kids, and we have to live our life in a way that we've never seen before. That's kind of bizarre. We were not taught this stuff. We have to kind of make it up or read about it or learn it or do something to change it. We got to change it, and it's on us. And once we're aware, you can't be not aware. Well, you can try, but you can't be unaware once you're aware. So it's on us. And so you see this trickling downhill to where our kids start loving their kids. And I can see it in my families. I think, Melissa, when you were talking about it, you can see it in your families, and it's happening. It's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful thing. Break the cycle, they call it. So emotional intelligence is a meta study about, it's me learning about me. It's my thoughts. I'm thinking about what I'm thinking about, metacognition, a meta emotion where I feel about what I'm feeling about, and it's me studying me studying you, and me studying us and we together, all that. And so it's a super important subject. It's, in my opinion, one of the most interesting subjects there is. I'm fascinated by it personally, and it's also one of the most practical subjects there is, because it's about that 24/7, 365, we think and we feel. Kind of good idea to get good at both of those, right? Because you can't stop it. We can't not think, and we can't not feel. So let's get good at those, shall we? So the three main components are thinking, feelings, and actions, also called 6 seconds calls it head, heart, hand. Another way to put it. It's cool. Somebody was talking about it earlier. Pharaoh was mentioned about that earlier. Thoughts, left brain; feelings, right brain; action, body. That's it. That's all we got to do, but that's all we have, and that's all we need, which is pretty cool. So we're dealing with our thoughts, our feelings, our actions. Here's the good news. Here's the best news on the planet, you guys. And this is what changed my life, and what got me doing this and jumping up and down about it, is that I felt completely out of control in my life. My dad was in the Air Force, like I mentioned, and we moved. We had to move all the time, and I lost my friends, and I lost our family all the time, over and over and over. I would make connections, and then they're gone. Either I'm gone or they're gone, because they were military also. And it was incredibly painful for me as a kid. Nobody beat on me or any of that stuff. I wasn't abused. It just, this thing happened, and I really had a hard time with it, because I am trying to make connections. People do that, us humans like to do that, but I was a particularly sensitive kid, and so it was really, really hard on me. And I felt out of control, because when my dad got orders to move, we're moving. I don't care if you want to or not. I don't care how much it messes up. We're moving. We're out of here. And so I felt out of control a lot of times. When I learned that I'm in control of my thoughts and my feelings, and that nobody can make me feel anything without my permission, then I felt like I was in control of my life for the first time. And I'm like, ha, 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 woo, right? And I was like, that is fantastic. And then I found out nobody else knows how to do this either. Nobody else talks about it either. So now I feel like I need to make a big deal out of it, which is what I'm doing as we speak, or as I speak. Anyway, so here's the key to this whole thing, in my opinion. Here's the tipping point between whether you're going to go up or you're going to go down. Ready? And that is that just accepting emotional responsibility, which means my thoughts, my feelings, my decisions, my values, my actions, my attitudes, all that stuff are mine. Nobody makes me do anything, really. They can have serious consequences if we don't do stuff, but nobody makes us, quote unquote, do anything. or feel anything or think anything or decide anything. Nobody. We get to do that. And that is, to me, is the most freeing, most beautiful thought I've ever had, I think. And it allows me to have control over my life. And you can call me a control freak if you want to. That's okay. In this department, I am. I want to be in control of me. So we learn from and heal our past so that we can live fully and completely in the present and create the very best future we can for ourselves and those we love. I should put this slide earlier. I'll move it up here. But anyway, that's a good one. Here's another good one, is that my point was that we're good at left brain. We're good at our thoughts. We're not so good at our emotions. So this guy on the left's got good IQ, lousy EQ, right? He's like this. And if you try to fly that way, you end up spinning around in circles and crash. The guy on the right, however, he increases EQ, and so that they balance, and then you can fly, you can soar. Anyway, that's what I'm trying to do. So we're learning about how to know and accept and express our thoughts and our feelings, right? We're balancing our left and our right brain, both of them. And the way that looks is when we're making a decision and we're going through our day, we say, all right, here comes something. Does it make sense? Logically, does it make sense? And does it feel good or feel right? Okay. We can, sometimes they're out of balance. Sometimes things make a lot of sense, but they feel awful, right? We're making decisions and doing stuff for like taking into account our feelings. That makes sense. I'm going to do that. It's a logical thing, or I'm thinking about doing that, but man, it feels awful. Or the other way is where it feels really good, like addictions, for example, feel really good. They don't make any sense at all. It doesn't make any sense at all. And so you're totally out of balance here. So we're trying to balance. We're trying to balance, right? And that's how we do this responsible decision making. The good news is that if we don't like what we're thinking and feeling, or if they're not working for us, we might like them, but they're not working for us. We might like them a lot, but they don't work for us. We can change them. We can change our thoughts and our feelings. That is pretty cool, huh? That's emotional intelligence, and that is personal power, and that's wonderful stuff. Okay, so SEL is social emotional learning. We call it EQ, we call it EI, and we call it SEL. They're all the same thing, basically. SEL is what it's called in the academic world in schools. They call it SEL. You won't see anybody teaching EQ. They teach SEL. That's what Bill taught and was principal of the school for years, and that's what they call it, SEL, right? So if you're looking for that term, or if you come across that term, it's the same stuff. So Daniel Goleman started off, came up with this model of how to do social emotional learning. It starts with self-awareness. Always, we got to start with ourselves, and it starts with awareness, because we're clueless. Otherwise, we've got to like, oh, okay, I see what you mean. All right, so we got to be aware of ourselves. That's step one. Always awareness is step one. Step two is, okay, now I'm aware and I accept it. Then I go, okay, I can manage me. I can deal with stuff. I can do things different. I can be who I want to be and do things that work for me. So I can manage myself once I'm aware, but you got to be aware first. It's also called consciousness or mindfulness or whatever, but it's open your eyes and be aware, and then you can manage you, not in that order. Okay, then there's social awareness. What about other people? What's up with them? Well, I found out that if my thoughts and feelings are important to me, well, guess what? They're important to other people too. And if you listen to people, like John was saying in the last talk, if you listen to people and have some empathy for people, guess what? They like that. They like it very much. And guess what? You have much better relationships that way. People like it when you listen to them and you care about what they think and feel. So you can have much better relationships, which is super satisfying. Yeah, the biggest, there was a study done in Harvard Medical School, I believe. They've been doing it for 85 years. And it's still going. They're 85 years. So they're on the third generation of people. They're asking people what's working for you, what's not working for you, what's the most important things in life, that sort of thing. And there's one outstanding thing about life that is helping people feel the best. You know what it is? connections, relationships, meaningful connections. Love, being able to love and take in love and be connected to people. So relationship skills, no small feat, but it is super, super important. And then the last is responsible decision making, which I already talked about, which is taking into account our left and our right brain, both. Emotions matter, you guys. The emotions matter more than we ever thought possible. I was amazed. Most people I talked to are like, what? And they're like, oh yeah, that is kind of important. I'm like, oh yeah, it's super important, way more than you thought. In fact, some people say they're more important than thoughts. I don't know. I think we need to balance them. I think we need to balance them. Here's one of the keys to the whole thing is that the way Dr. Frankel put it was, check this out, between stimulus and response, which means between something happening and how you respond to that, there's a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. That's pretty cool, huh? We get to choose our response. And in that response lies our growth and our freedom. In that space, in my opinion, is called EQ. That's called emotional intelligence. That's where our peace comes in, is that I am at peace knowing that whatever happens, I get to choose what I take from that. That's pretty cool. That is pretty cool to me. So the way this works is, let's see. So we're going to peace, right? Emotional intelligence, we're being smart for the purpose of peace, inner peace. This is the point. I read this earlier at the very beginning of this thing, but this is the point of our nonprofit, and the basic concept of this whole thing is, as Dalai Lama put it, the question of real lasting world peace concerns human beings, and basic human feelings are at its roots, right? Exactly what I'm talking about. Emotions go toward big peace. Through inner peace, genuine world peace can be achieved, right? I think Bill's one of his points was that most people laugh at you or scoff at it, like, oh yeah, world peace, yeah, right, sure, yeah, no problem. They just don't buy it. They don't believe it. They don't think it's possible. Well, we do. We believe it is possible, and we're trying to figure out a pathway to get there. Sound familiar? Pathway to peace. The importance of individual responsibility is clear. Just what I was just talking about. Emotional responsibility is clear. An atmosphere of peace must first be created within ourselves, then gradually expanded to include our families, our communities, and the whole planet. Woo-hoo, right? That's our point. That's the point of today. That's the point of our nonprofit. That's the point of my life, actually, these days. Inner peace begins when we choose not to allow another person or feeling to affect our emotions. We are born with, I'm almost out of time, so I'm going fast. We're born with only a few fears and no anger. That means that all your fears and your angers now, you made them up along the way. You told yourself a story, something happened to you, and you made it up along the way. That is, again, very, very, very good news, because if you made it up, if you created it, you can uncreate it. 3 big negative feelings we got to deal with. So check this out. If you can get good at your fear, your anger, and your sadness, get really good at those 3, just those 3, you become unstoppable. There's nothing that life can throw at you that you can't handle if you can deal with those big 3, in my opinion. And no matter what happens outside of us, like I mentioned, we have the power to control what goes on inside of us. Here's super quick. Oh, I'm running out of time. I hate this. I always do this. I'm only halfway through my slides. So stuff happens outside of us. It then comes inside. We have to process it, and then we go back out again. So something happens. We have a thought and a feeling about it. It's now inside. Now it's our problem and our opportunity to do something with it. We become aware of it. We accept it. We evaluate it, we make a decision, and then we act or not, depending on what we choose, on what just happened, right? And so it goes in, process, out. All right. Here's the summary of that. Thoughts and feelings are inside, actions and results are outside. Anyway, I guess I should stop. So it starts with thoughts, by the way. So if you're feeling lots of stuff, check out your thoughts that happen before or underneath your feelings. It all starts with our thoughts. That's really important, and have some empathy for yourself. So I'm going to stop here, unfortunately. And the biggest point of this whole thing, by the way, is way down here is emotional responsibility. They're accept emotional responsibility. That's the biggest point of this whole thing. If you don't hear anything else, they're your thoughts, your feelings, your actions. Own them, live with them, deal with them, then learn about emotional intelligence and share it with someone else, please, because most people have no idea what we're talking about and they need to know. And so let's go on. So, all right, I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to stop the recording because we're done with that one. Boom.